Hello again, everybody, and welcome to a fun and happy edition of the Jim Cornette Experience. We're going to have a ball today, ladies and gentlemen. Just so much on the program, including you can pay. You can now pay, ladies and gentlemen, for stupid people to do stupid shit. Plus, we're going to have, I guess this is an awkward segue, a review of the All Out from the All Elite. All that and so much more, including the post office and dried mangoes and much more. In joining me to do this, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you, he's Swammy's Pappy, the former post office playboy and the proprietor of the French Toast Chateau. He's your friend and mine and a fan of mangoes, the great Brian Lass.
I don't know why this is a big deal to you. Aloha, Jim. Hello, everyone. Yes, my day so far today has been the post office, and I'm now eating dried mangoes, and for some reason, this has just tickled you. I don't know.
Well, no, I was at the post office. Were you at the post office?
I did. I had a lot of 605 shirts I had to mail out today.
I didn't see you.
It was a different post office, naturally.
I guess it would have been. Well, I got the post office story, and you've got the. I asked you, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just chewing on a dried mango. What the fuck? Where do you even get a dried mango? Do you have to leave it sit out in the sun? Do you put it in the clothes dryer?
It's prepackaged. It was in the section opposite, like the walnuts and the peanuts and the almonds and everything else.
Why would somebody go to all the trouble and difficulty of packaging up a dried mango? What is that, just like a piece of fucking chewing gum? Or just, what does it look like if it's dried out?
I mean, it doesn't look very good, and it's also very chewy. But here's the package. Mango, sweet and tangy, organic dried fruit, super snack. And I like it. How
is it a super snack when you just said it doesn't look very good, and it's kind of chewy, and it's a dried fucking mango? How is that a super? Does that rank up with a Reese cup?
It's a super snack. It's an acquired taste, maybe, but it's a super snack because it's loaded with nutrients, allegedly. I don't know if the FDA's approved this. Let me look.
Wait a minute. Why would you acquire that taste to begin with if it's not even proven to have the effect that you're trying to fucking? It's like somebody said, oh, if you eat a pile of cow shit, your dick will get bigger. Are you just going to go out and graze, or are you going to ask for some corroboration?
Here's what it says on the package. Some people say snacks are no laughing matter. They think food is only meant to nourish, not amuse. Well, they can go ahead and keep on strolling down Sirius Street because we believe nature has what it takes to make you smile so big, you laugh for no reason. Enter our organic mangoes. You see, there's a.
You know why people are fucking laughing? They're laughing pointing at you because you're chewing on a fucking chewy old dried up fucking dead piece of fucking fruit that somebody wrote bad copy on and stuck in a fucking package and sold to you for probably 172 times what it cost.
Hey, look, it is delicious, although I must admit it is way too expensive.
Now it's delicious.
Way too expensive. I give you that.
That is the first time, and see, I just mentioned the cost, and now you're defensive about the cost. But that's the first time that the word delicious has come out of your fucking mouth.
It's an acquired delicious. I like it. I now look at it, and I like it. But when I first started eating it, I was like, this is like, fruity cardboard. But now I really like it.
Wait a minute. Who out there in the world listening, in the cult of Cornette listening now, has ever eaten something and said, well, that tastes like dried cardboard, but I'll try it 4 or 5 more times, enough to where they changed their mind completely and said, well, this is a delicious snack treat. Because who has that happened to?
Well, what happens is you eat the cardboard and then you get a little bit of an aftertaste starts kicking in of the actual mango. And then you're like, oh, maybe I'll get more aftertaste. It's like crack. I mean, it's really
get more aftertaste. that line was in a German porn I saw one time. Maybe I'll get more aftertaste. All right. Anyway, skipping from mangoes.
German porn. You sure know you're German porn, it seems.
There was a class. I took a class. It was for credits. But anyway, and I must mention this, I don't want to be commercial, but I don't even have a dog in this hunt because I have no more copies of Behind the Curtain. The hardcover sold out. We'll get to in a minute. But the soft cover now that's available on Amazon, online, and at fine retailers, whether it be Barnes & Noble or fucking Olson & Johnson, I don't know, Laurel and Hardy, where all the fine booksellers. Apparently it may be an endangered species now, the soft cover. I talked to the fine folks at IDW, and they mentioned they shipped more I think 50% more than for a normal graphic novel to comic book stores. And we're hearing a lot of reports that people are buying the last copies, and the number one ranking in wrestling books and all that stuff on Amazon has apparently not hurt the online sales because they're quite brisk. So they may be forced very soon into going into a second printing, and there may be a delay in the supply chain because of the unprecedented demand for this. So get your behind the curtains from online or your fine bookstores or your comic shops or wherever while you can, because there may be an interruption in supply. And I have given them a window before I would start selling soft covers on the website, and that was not planned for a few months, but now it may not happen now even longer than that unless we jumpstart another reprinting. So all this stuff's in the works. So get them quick, folks, while they last. But all right, I've been mentioning the trials and tribulations trying to get everybody's books out, and I can say with some degree of satisfaction that we've had success in almost, and that's why I'm going to tell you this story. But I have done my part and would have had over 1,000 of the, instead of around 850 or 900, but over 1,000 of the books out and more on the way. But I've had a post office snafu the last 2 days. And I always praise the staff, and it's not the staff's fault. I praise the staff at my post office, including the dearly departed Susie. Good old Suze. What a girl Suze was. Well, you remember Suze. You guys had the thing.
You Suze, you lose.
And if you Suze, you lose. You've lost Suze. But anyway, we've all lost Suze. Now, the young lady that I can't say replaced because Susie was irreplaceable, but the young lady that has transferred to this branch and has assumed Susie's old window, Bree, is a fine young lady, and I've been dealing with her along with Stephen and George and Lib and Mike is great at the window, but primarily it's been young Bree because now we're getting the rhythm, right? And she's been helping me go through these hundreds of pounds of packages and get them shipped out to the Cult Cornette over the past few weeks, right? She's still a newbie, but yesterday I went with, oh my God, there was easily 300 packages, and normally she could zip through that in about hour and a half, 2 hours, but it just, the label machine, you know, the machine that prints out the tape with the label?
Yeah, of course.
Kept jamming up. And they're like, oh, we've ordered a new machine. And I've tried to switched windows at one point, but then I believe, and there is evidence to support this, that the tape that they've been ordering is defective, because if you get tape from one supply, it jams up. But if she figured out to get tape from the other supply, then that was okay. And they changed machines and etc. So, but then it was a nightmare yesterday. Got everything out, but it took much longer than normal. So go back this morning. I said, who's got the new machine, the new tape machine? I said, we switched the tape over here, but we're waiting on the new machine. But they brought one from the back yesterday. A couple different ones were doing it. I still suspect the tape. I think it's gotten hot and humid and melted, and that sticky, and it's substandard tape. I know they're taking the lowest bidder. But anyway, we start having the tape snafus again. And I had to get back here to record. And so I'm sorry to say there's about 100 packages still in the back of Black Beauty that we could not get to because the constant having to change the tape, clean out the machine, reprint a label. So during this time, the station manager comes up. He's a bald fellow, very husky young man. Hadn't been here long, so we haven't had a lot of conversations, but
Station manager.
Yeah, well, the branch manager of the post office there.
Not the
that station
manager.
for the post office.
You don't call him station manager.
Well, I don't know what the fuck he's the manager of the place, right? And so we're standing there and she's trying to clean out the tape thing, and he's like, boy, he said, we could arrange with you where we could come to your business and pick up all. I said, well, it's my garage. He said, well, we could come to your house and pick up all this stuff. I said, well, that would be great. See, he's teasing me now. He's milking me. That would be fantastic. But how would we do the postage? He's, I could get you a program and you can print. I said, stop right there before we go any further. Do you love me? Will you love me forever? Do you need me? Will you never leave me? Stop right there before we go any further. You got to be out of your mind. You don't know me very well. Some of the folks at the window here do, and but yeah, no, there'll be no on. And I want to explain. As we know, Cornette's Collectibles started out as just my little side thing to market my Midnight Express book years ago, and has expanded somewhat in the past 2 years. It's really kept me hopping, which is another reason why I've cut down on this traveling, because I lose money when I go on the road, and that doesn't seem right. But anyway, I digress. Here's what I do, folks. And when you order a Stones album off of Amazon, you're not dealing directly with Mick and Keith. But here, you're dealing directly with the horse's mouth, or whatever part, depending on which direction I'm facing. And so when you order from Cornette's Collectibles at jimcornette.com, I get an email, and it lists the order and the fine folks who ordered it. And I print that out. And then when I've got a big stack of them, I take them downstairs to the Cornette's Collectibles Fulfillment Center. Sometimes I pull Black Beauty out in the driveway so I have more room in the fulfillment center. And I find the items, sign the items, put them in an envelope, write your address on the label, and slap it on the package. And then I carry it to the post office, where the fine folks at the window put the postage on it and send it on its merry way. That is pretty much the essence of the mail order business, and I've been in the mail order business in one fashion or another most of the time since I was 14 years old. The boy photographer, doing all that stuff. And that hasn't changed. Has it changed, Brian? Has that changed the essence of the mail order system?
No, the essence is still there.
But now they got and several people have emailed me, and I know you're trying to be nice, but they've emailed me, oh, it's easy. You get the app for the program, and you click and ship, and you download the thing, and you print the... Brian, you've known me for 25 years. If you had somebody holding a gun to me, and I had the choice of printing 1,500 labels for 1,500 people's orders on the internet with the proper postage and doing it right, or just saying, shoot me, motherfucker, which option would I pick?
You would always pick to keep it in-house and do it yourself.
Well, no, I would say if I only had the two options, you got to print all this shit, you got to do all this shit on the internet and make this right and get this to these people, or you get shot. Which one am I going to take? I'm going to take being shot, because there's no fucking earthly way that I would be able to figure out how to do that. You know me very well. And as a matter of fact, we're going to talk about this here very shortly. But remember the time that Stamps.com wanted to be a sponsor of the program, and not only me, but Stacy and you, none of you could figure out how that worked that shit.
Well, if we're going to be fair, they also completely screwed up. They were supposed to send stuff. They didn't.
Well,
they
yes,
said they did. It was
and there wasn't an option to pick the scale we needed, and we went around the mulberry bush and across our elbow to get to our wrist and everything. But the point is, I am not physically or mentally would I ever have the patience or the understanding of this internet horseshit to do this click and ship, download program, print all that shit out without sending everything to the fucking Bermuda Triangle. So what you pay for when you purchase Cornette's Collectibles is also my personal time and attention. And that's why in some cases it may be taking a little bit longer. But in this case, so the manager says, I said, stop right there before you go any further. I said, if it has anything to do with the internet, no, right? No, it's not going to fucking happen, especially when something like this happens. Well, your website, I said, yes, all I have to do is print out an email. Well, how do you get the money? I said, my wife handles the money. Well, then your wife could do it. I said, now you're really talking about a lot of money, because do you know how expensive divorce is? And I'm going to walk up Stacy and say, here's 1,500 individual labels you got to print out and postage. Get back to me. What the fuck? Or you want me to actually work closely 12 hours a day with my wife? What are you, man, mad? So anyway, I told him, I said, fix the goddamn label machines and get some more high quality tape around here, and young Bree would be able to do her job well. I said, but here's my number. If anything, if you can think of anything to give me preferential treatment around here that doesn't involve me getting on the internet, feel free to come up with that idea. But I can say that the update is that if you ordered domestically from JimCornette.com over the last 3 weeks, that the Behind the Curtain has been out and we've had this slam by this coming Monday. What day is it, Brian? It's Thursday what?
It is Thursday the 5th.
Thursday the 5th. So 6, 7, 8, Monday the 9th. Everything, including, I believe, I see a lot of low numbers are yet to go out, even though your place is reserved and your book is sitting there. But some people ordered a book and something else or multiple things. And to be honest, we had to get some of the stuff out of the way first. So we had an area to sort all these things. So we've sent a lot of the individual book orders, but yet book and other item orders should be all out by Monday, along with the rest of the books. And then it's going to be International Week for a week. And then we should be caught up. And if you've ordered something in the last week and a half when we've had this slam after the book sold out, your stuff by Monday or Tuesday will be winging its way to you as well. We have a plan here, and the plan is coming together. But it pissed me off. I had to wait and hold 2 boxes for tomorrow's post office run, just because of their defective label machine. It's insane. Now, speaking of which, a lot of people are going to say, well, Cornette, if you were more internet savvy, or if you joined the 21st century and texted and got the smartphone, did all that stuff, you wouldn't have. I enjoy, by the way, standing at the post office. They're fine conversationalists. They are, and it gets me out in public without getting me too far from the house. But I do recognize that my technical skills are limited. That's why last week on the program, we entered into an arrangement, you and I, because I don't know nothing about the internet, and our new sponsor, MyBookie, has dangled this $100,000 that we can win in front of us. We told the we told the Cult of Cornette about it. Basically, if you go to MyBookie and you bet on the super contest, the first place is guaranteed to win at least $100,000, and it only costs $100 to enter. And that sounded pretty good to me, because like I said, I barely grossed 6 figures last month. So we were going to try to win $100,000 for our $100. We both recognized that I know nothing about the internet. Therefore, you were going to place the bet, and we were going to play MyBookie and pick 5 NFL games against the spread every week as their promotion. It says all you got to do, I'm looking at the information right here, all you got to do is pick 5 NFL games against the spread, whatever that means, every week to climb the leaderboard and score your share of the huge cash prize pool at MyBookie that has better bonuses and more prop bets, whatever they are, than any other sports book. And it says MyBookie is always the right play. You bet, you win, they pay. And I like that. I want to bet, I want to win, I want them to pay me. They've got live in-game betting on every NFL game, the most rewarding player perks in the business. For you fantasy guys out there, I've had a fantasy a time or two. You can even bet the over-under on how many fantasy points a player will score each game. I've never had that kind of fantasy, now come to think of it. Nevertheless, you get up to $1,000 first deposit bonus, and you double your first deposit, and you can use promo code, because this is not just us, this is the entire listenership, promo code JCE to activate the offer. So visit MyBookie online today. That's MyBookie. And don't forget to use the promo code JCE when creating your account to claim the bonus. Here's the problem. I already realized that I know nothing about the internet, and I place the responsibility in your hands to place the bet. You have just now admitted to me before we went on the air that you didn't have the gumption to admit ahead of time that you don't have the first goddamn idea how to bet on a fucking football game.
No idea. My dad does. My dad has been very successful.
Well, should I have made the deal with your dad? No, you got it. He would never have gone 50-50 with you. Never. You were just reading on. I thought it was friendly. We were just bros doing podcasts in our underwear and betting on football. But because I've never bet on a fucking football game either, right? But you went to the website and you looked it up, and and you couldn't figure out what it fuck is, like me trying to hear this internet talk. You had no idea what the fuck they were telling you to do.
I'll give you an example. Right now, as we're recording, a little behind the scenes, breaking kayfabe, whatever you want to call it, the New York Mets are about to play the Washington Nationals. Now, I'm a big Met fan. I'd like to bet on the Mets. Zach Wheeler is on the mound, right-handed pitcher. And then it says next to that, ROT, I guess, 90. I don't know what that means. And then the pitcher's name, and then spread for the Mets, it has plus 1.5, minus 185 in parentheses. And then money plus 110, total 0-10. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to do this. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to do this, Jim.
All right. Well, so here's what we're going to do. This week, we'd like to ask, I'm sure there's a member of the cult of Cornette out there that is
I just want to bet on the Mets.
An experienced gambler. And we encourage everybody who knows how to do this stuff to go to my bookie. But can somebody tweet Brian Last and tell him how to bet on the Mets? That's all we want.
Yeah. After last night's game, we can start now.
We just want to bet on the Mets. I don't know what happened last night because I don't like baseball and I didn't watch the Mets.
Oh yeah, for the first time in team history, they gave up 7 runs in the 9th inning to lose the game.
Oh, so well then why did they give them up? When they give up runs, it's like they didn't try to stop them. They just gave them up.
You know, it was kind of like that Memphis Mid-South talent trade. The Mets sent these 2 really good young players that had yet to come to the major leagues to Seattle to get Robinson Cano, who had been a star years ago and then got busted for steroids, and he's now 36, which is old for a player, and this young, flashy closer, Edwin Diaz, who has had the single worst year of any closer I've ever seen in my entire life. He fucking sucks. He's the worst pitcher I think maybe I've ever seen on the Mets in a single season. And, very similar to the Mid-South. They got the Midnight Express and Jim Cornette and the Rock and Roll Express, and Memphis got Masao Ito and Jim Neidhart and some other people.
Well, don't forget about Bill Dundee and Buddy Landell and Terry Taylor.
Terry Taylor, yeah. And eventually.
And Memphis got Masao Ito, Hacksaw Higgins, Rick Rude, which was a winner.
That worked.
And that worked and did great for Rude, too. And oh, golly. And Lanny Poffo, I think. That may have been done beforehand. But I can't remember who else.
Jim Neidhart, Rick Rude,
Neidhart. I didn't say Neidhart. Yes, but you did. Yes, there we go. All right. Anyway, somebody tell poor Brian how to bet on the Mets. And I guess now it's still my money because I made the offer. I don't know, but my bookie is going to win us. Well, wait a minute. No, it says you got to pick 5 NFL games to win the $100,000.
Did someone help me with that?
Yeah.
Who could be my designated...
Fuck the Mets. I want to win the $100,000.
Whoa. Let's not say fuck the Mets. Let's go Mets, is what we say.
Let's go Mets. Go on. Fuck right on off.
Let's go Mets.
All right. Anyway, somebody tell Brian how to bet on the NFL, to climb the leaderboard and score your share of the huge cash prize pool.
And good news, if you're on the dark underground, they accept cryptocurrency. You don't even have to pay cash. What's better than that?
Cryptocurrency.
You know about cryptocurrency?
Is that like Tales from the Crypt, or is it a very cryptic message? It's a cryptic currency.
Yeah, well...
That's what it is, right?
It's an encrypted currency, actually, I guess you could say. Like Bitcoin. Have you heard of Bitcoin?
Yes, I've heard a lot of people buying Bitcoins for nefarious purposes.
Well, they accept those Bitcoins no matter what you bought them for at my bookie.
Oh, well, correct me. Is Bitcoin basically a currency that is not backed by any nation or government or anything except people just say so?
That's exactly it. There's a great book that just came out about it called Bitcoin Billionaires. It's a decentralized monetary system that goes up and down, and it's a lot to explain to you.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, for the Christmas season, I'm sending out corny bucks. I will send you, if you send me $20, I'll send you $40 in corny bucks. And you can use that at Cornette Collectibles if you can find me in the fucking Bahamas or possibly the Caribbean somewhere where I'm offshore.
Placing bets.
Oh, good heaven! Here's this is an awkward segue, also, but this is a charity that we can actually get behind. Apparently, in answer to last week, young Jordan Butterface Grace I heard the T-shirt sold out. You're welcome, young lady. But Jordan Grace has sent in the information that we were looking for. On Twitter, she tweeted me with the information. We had asked, where is the centralized charity that we can go to help teachers have school supplies for the kids and etc. It's adoptaclassroom.org. Adoptaclassroom.org. I assume it's legitimate. I don't know. They may be taking in Bitcoin off the coast of Brazil. I don't know. This could be underground for ISIS or whatever. You'll get on a list, but it should be. Yeah, look at the website. It should look okay.
You know who got in touch with me with another one on Twitter? He said he's I think a physical education teacher. Antonio the Promise Thomas.
Oh, Promise.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was the same service that is the one you just mentioned, but he mentioned one also, and I don't have it on the tip of my tongue.
Well, wait a minute here. I'm just typing. I've just moved my microphone a second. Folks, this is a high-quality program that you get here, especially when Cornette's in a bad mood, although you did giggle me a little bit. We believe every child should have equal access to the tools they deserve to be successful in school. With your help, we make this possible. You can support our mission. You can fund a teacher. You can fund a school. It says 92% of classrooms have students. I guess I could move the keyboard now and get this back in the right order. But 92% of classrooms have students whose families cannot afford school supplies. Teachers and principals are filling the gap out of their own pockets. So you can register or you can donate or whatever. This actually looks legitimate, and there's pictures of a bunch of people with smiles on their faces. So it's got to be real. But adoptaclassroom.org, and I'm sending my $250 to these folks. So that's where we're sending everybody who wanted to know about it. What's the matter? Are you chewing on dried mangoes over there?
No, I was trying to find the tweet, but I can't find it. There's just too many tweets. Too many tweets.
Oh, a tweet from Promise.
Yes.
Oh, well, Promise, if you're listening, email it to Brian. And we'll send them the same thing. How's that?
I got to say on the topic.
I got to stop giving my fucking money away.
On the topic of Promise Thomas, that is one of those feuds, it's so weird that I wish I could have seen the whole thing play out, because you weren't going to get classic matches, the Heartbreakers and Eminem. But that was so much fun watching you build that up on OVW TV. That was one of the last really fun things you did in OVW.
They were so great, and I was lucky in that, kind of like in Ring of Honor in 2009-ish, we had the Kings of Wrestling, Claudio and Chris Hero. We had Haas and Benjamin. We had the Briscoes. The American Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards had great tag teams. It ended up there in OVW for a brief time until they brought them all up and screwed everybody up. I had Eminem. I had the Heartbreakers. I had Seth Skyfire and Mac Johnson, who were tremendous. I've had various combinations of the young guys like Chris Cage and Johnny Jeter and Magnus and those guys. We just had great tag teams at that point. but the Heartbreakers really, and they got over doing, and that was their shit. But they knew how to not just go into business for themselves, but at the same time, hey, what about if I do this? Or some things they knew you didn't need to ask. They kind of fell into them. And it was the same thing with Eminem. They developed their own stuff, and they were fantastic. And then, of course, they bring them up to the main roster and change every single thing about what made both teams really special. They completely fucked up the Heartthrobs.
Oh, they completely. I mean, at least they
completely
pretended to try with Eminem. With the Heartthrobs, they lost Mo Green and everything else that made them work at OVW. It was awful.
And the music and the whole idea of the thing. But no, they tried to fuck Eminem up from the start because they wanted to bring Johnny and Molina up, but Matthews didn't have a contract at that point. And we just put them together, and Matthews had developed all the shit that they were doing and supervised all the videos and figured out the entrance and everything. And they called me and said, well, we want to bring Eminem up, but we want to replace Matthews. He's not a contract guy. I said, I know, make him one. they were going to just put somebody else under contract in that fucking team. I said, no, are you ribbing? He's the one doing all the shit. So then they brought them all up and played like they were going to fucking push them, but they should have been on top from the beginning. They could have been modern day Freebirds. But now you've got me in a bad mood again.
It's a great feud. Heartbreakers and Mo Green.
Well, no, now I'm thinking about how they screwed him up. Oh, I do. You make Mo Green with Morris Green.
The video of them in the mall. I remember all this stuff.
Oh,
it was
God.
Great stuff.
I know, and they were shooting all that stuff themselves, and they didn't ask for permission. They just went to the fucking mall and dressed like that and looking like it was fucking hilarious. But anyway, nevertheless, a quick update, because people have been asking, are you still doing any announcing for MLW? And there was all the stuff in the news when Tony Shivani was on All Elite. Then no, he was staying with MLW. Then he's doing both, et cetera, et cetera. And we've had more emails and Twitters and everything. Basically, everything has worked out well for everybody because Tony will be continuing on and potentially All Elite Wrestling may be listening to the program. Who knows? Because they wanted somebody that was under contract somewhere else and they haven't bought him out, but they have worked out something, obviously. As Cord Bowers announced, Tony will be continuing doing stuff with MLW, but he will also be doing stuff with All Elite Wrestling. And as we all know, Tony has 17 other jobs with all the sports teams in Atlanta and everything else, and he loves to stay busy. So that's good for him. And MLW gets an announcer that's on TNT. Or some, I don't know what Tony's role is going to be on All Elite. First they said he was going to announce, then not, that he wasn't on the show, then he was on the show, but he wasn't. But I'm sure they're working all this out because Tony does have 18 other jobs he has to give notice to. Or I guess he's just going to work around the clock. Maybe he's going to try to do everything. Anyway, so it worked out well because they have a consistent announcer. And I don't feel like I'm leaving them in the lurch because, as we had mentioned, they're coming up in not only they're going to be running shows back in New York, in Florida, in Texas, all of which are 800 to 1,000 miles away, but also in Mexico now in October, which obviously I would not have been able to drive to. So while I'm taking care of Cornette's Collectibles, and I wish them well, but Tony now is tagging back in for the announcing job that I tagged in for him on. And we wanted to make sure everybody knew that. And I had an email here. I was going to read an email. Wait a minute. Here we go. Like we don't know anything about football, apparently. We don't know anything about skateboarding either. And I've got a letter here from someone who has more experience. Dear Jim, I was watching All Out and unfortunately had to sit through the Jelly Janela Jimmy Havoc Darby Allin match. I've heard you call Darby Allin one of those skateboard fucks on your show before. Let me tell you this, my dear sir, as someone who has been a wrestling fan for 25 years, a skateboarder for 20, and works in the skate industry, I want to make it crystal clear we do not support Darby Allin. Apparently, Darby Allin has some heat with the skateboarders. I've seen footage of Allin skating, quote unquote, and it's not pretty. He was never a pro skater and is not even good enough to get a low-level sponsorship. Allin has a tasteless trick selection. That sounds like the spread and the leaderboard. Allin has a tasteless trick selection and looks like shit on a board, which I guess looks even worse than shit on a shingle. Comparing a real skateboarder to Darby Allin would be like comparing Ric Flair to Darby Allin. One's ice cream and one's horse manure. I also heard the announcers call what Allin did as an ollie. It was technically a bomb drop. But then again, I doubt any of the announcers were expecting to call skateboard tricks at a fucking wrestling match. Keep continuing to fight the good fight, Jim, as I appreciate your stories when pro wrestling was actually pro wrestling. P.S. I'm pretty sure JR slipped up and called Joey Janela Jelly Janela during the match. That's from John. I didn't hear it. I don't...
Me neither.
I mean, that's not to say there was points where I zoned out in certain instances. But anyway, and one more thing.
So do you apologize to the skateboard fans out there for?
Yes, I do. I apologize for calling Darby Allin a skateboard fuck and offending the skateboard fucks. I would never have dreamed of trying to offend them if I'd have known that was going to be the case. Cameron writes real quickly, Jim, I've noticed with the arrival of All Elite Wrestling, you've become increasingly worried about the future of wrestling with the possibility of some outlaw mud show wrestlers getting mainstream TV attention. How very selfish of you. All you care about is your wrestling. Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Jim so-called Cornette, if that was indeed Mama Cornette's real name. The bigger fear isn't for the future of wrestling, but the death of the circus. With guys like Allen and Jelly getting shown wrestling on international TV and they're seen as stars for putting themselves through unjust pain and becoming a freak show, then who's going to be left to join the circus instead of becoming a play wrestler? The circus is doomed to be killed by All Elite Wrestling. And then what will happen to the poor old lady who is covered in hair like a bear? She'll be unemployable. So before you start your next rant on AEW, Jim, please, I beg of you, think of her poor furry little face sitting on a street corner before crying about your precious wrestling business. I'm sorry. I do apologize. And on behalf of all of the bearded / hairy ladies that formerly worked at circuses that have been put out of business by All Elite Wrestling, I want to apologize if I've added to any of your strife at this trying time.
Hey, Jim, on the topic of All Elite, I know we're going to do the big review, but have you heard the news about the belt? Have you been following this?
The belt got stolen.
Yes.
Well, Bruno's was stolen, as we know.
That's the only thing people could say. You know, as soon as someone goes, he was irresponsible for losing the belt, the only argument is, well, it happened to Bruno. That's the only thing people can say.
Well, no, but just belts that have been stolen. Bruno's belt was stolen after a Madison Square Garden title defense in the mid-'60s out of his car. While he was at a restaurant having dinner after the matches. And they never got that one back, so that's when they made the newer one. There have been, there's been a number of guys not actually steal. When guys take the belts, I don't consider that stealing. I consider walking off with the fucking belts. But when we're talking about stealing, some unknown perpetrator actually going in somewhere and stealing a belt, it's happened a few times, but it doesn't happen often because most of the guys, well, you never check the belt on a plane. You always carry it with you. Yes, well, Flair always had the belt with him. I always had our belts with me. You don't, you keep an eye on them. You hand them at the ring to company personnel of some description who are then responsible for taking it back. I remember one time in fucking TNA, I had the belt because it was held up and I had done the promo and then come back and put the belt on the equipment case where right inside the gorilla position where they put all the stuff, right? Where all the stuff is supposed to go. And they called me a couple weeks later and said, where's the belt? I don't have the fucking belt. Okay. They thought I was ribbing them, right? I'm like, no, motherfucker. I put the fucking belt back where the shit was supposed to go. And then they found it with the equipment. Imagine that. But normally somebody, the champion, in this case, it was vacant and it was a TV taping. So I wasn't carrying the fucking belt around, but normally the champion is responsible. If you need to keep that fucking belt within your sight or locked up somewhere. I've never heard of a case where, because I guess the circumstances were Jericho got the wrong luggage at the airport. So he went to Longhorn to eat and had the limo driver go back and switch the luggage, but he left the belt, which he had with him because he didn't check it, in the fucking limousine. And when the limousine comes back, the belt was gone. How the fuck did the limo driver leave a limousine unlocked at an airport for any reason while he was doing anything? And if he didn't leave it unlocked, then Mr. Limo Driver, where's my fucking belt? So it's a very unique set of circumstances to which I do not know if anybody has all the facts to. But it just, I don't think he's irresponsible for leaving a fucking belt in a limousine. Maybe in a goddamn Opel Kadett where the back door doesn't lock, but I don't know.
Well, the good news is the police were able to recover a full crate, untouched, of Fozzy CDs. So they were at least able to recover something.
Well, at least they found that it had fallen off the truck. Before we do our review, real briefly, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this fucking idiot, but it just at first it was just one of those things that I shook my head about, and just tweeted, whatever the fuck. Yeah, maybe they stopped the show so this fucking guy could, bleed out and all the fans could watch him. Then something happened that it just put a sour taste in my mouth. So I'm going to mention it. Did you see the clip of the fucking guy on some goof show somewhere in a fucking barn somewhere, the Outlaw Mud Show? The one fat bald guy with piercings and tattoos and wearing sloppy pants and a t-shirt in black is wrestling another fucking sloppy fucking guy. I don't know if he was bald, but that may have been the only difference. They're on top of two ladders that are set up side by side. There are fluorescent light tubes bridging the ladders. Am I describing this correctly?
I have intentionally not watched this. I've only read about it.
What?
I'm not watching this crap.
Oh no, because it's you got to. So anyway, the ladders and the bundle of light tubes bridging the thing, and I don't know what's down in the ring or whatever the fuck, because it's the clip. And one of these goofs goes to give the other goof, like how they started doing brain busters on the turnbuckle, which is fucking ludicrous. And you've seen all these videos of people bouncing off the top rope out into the floor uncontrollably, because that's what happens when you do a brain buster off take, except for El Generico. He could do it and get away with it. So everybody else tried to, and nobody can. But anyway, the one guy goes to give the other guy a brain buster while they're on top of the ladders through the fucking fluorescent light tubes and all the way down to the ground. And these were big ladders. And when the one guy fucking lands immediately, you see a puddle of blood. As soon as he bumps and bounces over, you see a puddle of blood has appeared. And suddenly he's got his left arm clamped into his side, and he fucking rolls out of the fucking ring and starts scurrying off to wherever I'm sure there was a full fucking equipped medical facility in the back of this goddamn, converted fucking cattle barn. But he scurries off, and you can see as he goes by already, it's just the blood is just pouring out of this fucking, he sliced the fuck out of his side, his arm, whatever the fuck, right? And everybody says, oh shit, and off he goes. And I retweeted the clip, and I said, yeah, maybe they stopped the show so all these goofy fucking fans can watch this fucking moron bleed out, because he's obviously hit an artery, and I'm sure he wasn't long for this world, whatever the fuck, right? Because what the fuck? Why in the world would anybody think anything else was going to fucking happen when you do something like that? Guess what this fucking idiot is doing?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know if it's him himself, but he's going to be the recipient. They have set up a GoFundMe for this fucking moron, for all the fans that he's entertained doing his deathmatch wrestling for 13 years or whatever, and nobody's ever fucking heard of him. He's been doing death matches in a barn for 13 years. I'm surprised this hadn't happened before now. A GoFundMe to apparently operate and put his arm back together where he sliced it from asshole to appetite. And they want people to contribute, and people are. People are $10 here, $20 there, whatever the fuck, to this fucking idiot. Which then I got hot, because I said, are there no sick children? Are there no poor elderly people? Are there no abused animals? Are there no hungry fucking needy people? Or people through no fault of their own, have horrible medical conditions. And we know in the United States, if you do, you're on your own, because we have no health care, because we have Republicans. They don't coexist. But there's no person on this earth that's in need of money you want to give away more than this fucking moron, this fucking piece of shit, this tattooed up pincushion fucking faced freak, that not only in the process of doing a stupid, ignorant fucking thing was not only shitting on the wrestling business and making everybody in it look like a bunch of goofy clowns just like him, just fucking idiots that just mutilate themselves for no reason. and make wrestling look bad, make himself look like an idiot, and to please whatever dregs of society paid to come and see a bunch of fucking idiots stumble through a bunch of goddamn sharp implements and broken glass. But now he's got the gall. He wants you to pay for his damage that he's done to himself while he was doing it. which is like me fucking going downtown and walking down Broadway at 5 o'clock and saying, you know what? I'm just going to run out and take a bump over a car and see what happens. And then when I end up in intensive care and an iron lung, okay, can y'all help chip in and pay for my hospital bills? Because I had a tragedy. No, it wasn't a tragedy. A tragedy, as the Bee Gees would say, tragedy, when the ship is sunk and the captain's drunk, or whatever the fucking words were. A tragedy is an unavoidable occurrence to some innocent victim. I did a really stupid thing that anybody with a level head could have seen was going to injure me badly for very little money for a handful of fucking people. And now I want people I've never even met to pay for the damage that I did to myself so I can do it some more, because I've been doing it all these years to entertain a bunch of low-class fucking people. And I want to do it some more, but you got to pay for me to get put back together because I'm an idiot. And I just do shit like that all the time. And this time it bit me in the ass. Fuck you. What the fuck is the world? As I said, I just gave $250 to adoptaclassroom.org, and you send me the one Promise sent you, and I'll send them $250. All I'm sending this fucking bald-headed, tattooed, fucking fat piece of shit play garbage deathmatch wrestler is fuck you and the gall of you. The gall of you, as Jackie Fargo said about Jimmy Hart one time in 1982, the gall of you. That you want people to pay for your stupid shit when there's this many hungry, abused, and sick people in the fucking world that actually need people's help. Fuck you. Anyway, should we talk about this goddamn show now? I guess there's nothing left.
Well, right after my plugs, yes.
Well, go ahead and plug so I can calm down.
Jackie Fargo also said, you stink! Many times.
You're synthetic. You're synthetic. Nothing real about you.
So those interviews, that was his couch in North Carolina?
Yeah. If Jackie Fargo wouldn't go fly all the way to Memphis to do fucking interview. Well, no, I tell a lie.
When did he move to North Carolina again? I know he was born
wait a minute. But I tell a lie because the Fabs were in some of that stuff with him. I think he came over to Nashville probably at some mutually agreed upon point and shot a few fucking different things and went home because he always liked to be home, especially on weekends, because that's when the big games happen.
If only we had Fargo to help us with the MyBookie spot. Things would be
if we had Fargo, we wouldn't need my bookie, your bookie, or any other bookie.
All right. Well, this week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, another fine week of shows. Want to talk to you about a few things. This week on John Arezzi's Pro Wrestling Spotlight, Then and Now, we look at July 16th, 1989, review the show with WWF Women's Champion Rockin' Robin in the studio, plus Scott Hall and so much more. And you can hear the entire unedited original broadcast that we review by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Arezzi. And of course, you can hear the show at pwspod.com. Also available wherever you find your favorite podcast. One of the most cringeworthy moments in the history of the show on this week's episode. So check that out today. Also want to make mention, episode 100 of Breaking
Kayfabe. Wait a minute. Who's supposed to be cringing? Were you cringing because of what he said? Was he cringing because of what you said? Are you both talking about somebody else cringing?
I'll tell you what it was. He was cringing in the moment, and then he and I were both cringing listening back to it. He has Rockin' Robin on, and it's a really nice interview. She seems like a real sweetheart. Really nice, down to earth, has a nice voice on the air.
Yes, Robin's a very nice young lady. I always thought she was very, very fine person.
So this is 1989. They're talking about the plight of women's wrestling, how she doesn't really have too many people she could wrestle other than Judy Martin in the WWF, and there really isn't that much going on. The NWA had nothing, obviously. Yeah. So John's sympathizing with her, and then he gets a phone call from one of the guys that has been on the air for several weeks, the G-Man. He works at the station. But the problem is the G-Man is on location John has had a sponsor for the last 3 weeks, Battling Beauties. These two strippers were having a match. So he gets a live report from Battling Beauties in the middle of this Rockin' Robin interview. And it's really, really awkward. It comes into it awkward. And then you listen to John on the air. And then coming out of it, it is really, really awkward. So check that out today. PWSpod.com. Also want to make mention.
Hey, here's an idea also.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is Misty Blue? Why doesn't Misty Blue come to any conventions anymore?
Is anyone looking for Misty Blue?
I don't, what do you mean, like a government agency? I'm just saying that you never see Misty. I wonder what Misty Blue looks like these days.
Do you see Linda Dallas ever?
You don't see Linda Dallas either, nor Kat LaRue. You don't see her either.
Maybe they're all still hanging out and doing things together. Who knows? But they did a lot of things together. Linda
Dallas was the only girl I ever saw that pissed on broadcast television.
What?
No, I tell a lie. I tell a lie. It was Terry Power trying to pick up Linda Dallas.
Okay. What happened?
We're doing the LPWA TV tapings, me and Joe Pedicino at that casino out in Laughlin, Nevada, which is where Sam Kinison was headed when he got run over. And Terry Power, several of Misty Blue's girls, including Linda Dallas, were there at the taping, and Terry Power, who was the champion, and she was in real good shape. She's a bodybuilding girl and had a real good look. She goes to superplex Linda Dallas off the fucking top rope. Well, the thing was, Linda Dallas was only about 5 feet tall, and she had to have a 44 to 46 triple D brassiere size, and was and what I'm saying is they were low center of gravity, very compact. And poor old Terry Power had to strain so bad to get Linda down to power her up to where they could, instead of falling on top of her, she could turn her over for the superplex off a turnbuckle, that when she stood up and was finally under Linda Dallas, she let go and pissed a stream, I would say 6 to 7 feet. I don't know. It must have had some power behind it because it came through her.
Had Terry Power behind it.
Had Terry Power behind it. Yes, it came through. What a prostate she had. No, I don't think that's right. But it came through her outfit and everything. But boy, as soon as the pressure was off, when they started falling backwards, it cut off. But for about 2 or 3 seconds there was a 6-foot stream of piss that came right. It was amazing. And Pedicino was looking at the monitor. You couldn't really see it on the monitor, but they were in the turnbuckle right over us. And thankfully not come straight over us, but the one right in front of us, I should say. And I saw it plainer than the fucking nose on your face.
So what happened? What do you do after that to the ring? What does she do? Did they go right to the finish?
I don't think she knew she did it. Because, it was one of those things, right? Any power lifter may understand, especially a female power lifter might understand that. But
wait, hold on now. Power lifters just let their urine out at any time?
No, I'm saying when you're struggling to get under a goddamn, these things can happen. And especially, I think, possibly a woman is more susceptible to these kind of things anatomically. But anyway, I don't think they knew it happened. And it didn't really go in the middle of the mat. It just went right down through the turnbuckle, and there it went.
Well, this week on Breaking Kayfabe with Baldwin and Barry, the boys celebrate episode 100 with another of their Unsolved Mysteries series. This has been very, very popular. Various deaths, murders, and other mysteries, including the death of Mark Tendler. Check that out today at baldwinpod.com, or available wherever it is that you find your favorite podcasts. And, of course, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership!
Oh.
It's Labor Day Star Wars! You didn't expect that, did you?
I've come to expect the unexpected from you.
Labor Day Star Wars, over 3 hours of me and several guests, including Lou Kippelman, the popular wrestling humorist Scott Cornish, Mike Sempervive and Dan Farron talking about classic wrestling, the Jerry Lewis Telethon, independent wrestling, and even some AEW hot takes, because this is right after the AEW pay-per-view, and I gotta say, people really love Scott Cornish's takes on this, apparently. Check it out today! 605pod.com, or available wherever it is that you find your favorite podcasts for classic wrestling talk and wrestling humor. The 605 Super Podcast. Did you like the Jerry Lewis Telethon growing up?
No, I was always more enamored of the Crusade for Children telethon because it was local. Yeah. You know, and I did watch the year that Dean and Jerry reunited. I saw that. Believe it or not. I just happened to be watching and saw that at that point. That was historic. Anyway, I'm a little ticked at you also again.
What did I do now?
Because last week, when I explained to you that I had not watched All Out because I recorded the pay-per-view broadcast and was going to watch it at my leisure, you said, oh, well, you won't see the Women's Battle Royal. But I did.
Oh, see, I thought because it was on the pre-show, or what I thought was the pre-show, that it wouldn't be part of the pay-per-view presentation that you DVR'd.
Well, no, they showed the buy-in. They're not gonna get off of that. They will not give up this. Is possibly Tony Khan is behind my bookie. They won't get off the fucking roulette wheel. The buy-in, the all-in, the all-out, the double or nothing. They need to get away from Vegas and start talking about wrestling. But anyway, yes, they had the buy-in, and that's not. We'll get to this, but the program started at 7:00. And counting the first hour lasted some 4 hours and some minutes. I'm not sure exactly. We'll get to that in a second. But over 4 hours was this show. But when I tuned in at the start of the broadcast, it came on the air. Excalibur and Golden Boy hosted the buy-in portion of the program, and I don't know if they just don't care or what, but this was on the pay-per-view broadcast. I ordered the pay-per-view broadcast and I recorded it. So that means that this went to all the people watching pay-per-view. They open up with a crowd pan of the arena and there's everybody standing around on their phones or looking down at their phones or sitting in the seats on their phones. And Excalibur and Golden Boy do a welcome, welcome, here we are. It's the buy-in. And all the people there's no way they could have the fucking ring announcer fire everybody up and say in 30 seconds, we're going live around the world. We want them to see that, Chicago's a rocking place to be. Everybody stand up and make some noise. And they come to a building where it's full and everybody's yelling and screaming. And then they can do a voiceover saying, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an all-in spectacular or whatever the fuck it is. But instead, the fans are all standing around on their phones. And the fucking announcers do a blasé open. And then they go straight into the same thing that sunk them with me before, a casino battle royal. But this time, instead of 21 guys, it's 21 women. And Justin Roberts has to explain these long, bullshit, confusing rules that nobody fucking gets. And they're too busy, and it's too gimmicked up. And then there's already 5 girls in the ring that didn't even get an entrance, including Nyla Rose, who they're trying to push. If you're just going to herd people out there, don't put one of your regular girls that you're pushing in that group. But once again, 5 girls start, and then at some time of interval, which is not clearly established, and I think is subject to manipulation, of card suit is drawn, and the 5 girls who drew that suit then have to enter, and it's supposedly all at random, and it blah blah blah, and your feet have to touch the floor, and then winner gets a women's title shot, and this was a mess. You can't keep the girls straight. The obvious ones that you can tell from sight because they're either famous or look different. But a bunch of those miscellaneous girls gets in the fucking middle and you don't know what the fuck's going on. The librarian book on the floor deal was fucking stupid. And you said, I think on the drive-through, if they did that in the WWF, people would fucking go crazy and criticize it and hate it. And it's stupid. The whole fucking thing, the librarian thing's stupid to begin with. But even when Nyla Rose gets over like a beast by clearing the ring on her section, then they have that fucking Peter Avalon, who looks like he ought to be a registered offender of some type with a government agency, comes in and takes a goofy bump and makes it silly. And then they send 5 more down, including Britt Baker, which is another one of their stars. But one of the blonde girls that came down got in the ring. There's Nyla Rose, the beast, standing there in the ring by herself. She's just cleared everybody out of the ring, and this blonde girl just jumped in the ring before everybody else got there and stopped Nyla Rose and gets her down. And then the rest of the girls just walk in. Then a bunch of girls did a lot of shit to each other. Then here comes 5 more, including Awesome Kong, who just strolls down to the ring and hung out outside while some of the others got in and started running some spots. And then Kong and Brandy Rhodes team up. But then that backfires by the end of this 5-girl segment. And I missed when Brandy got dumped. I didn't even see it. Here comes 5 more, including ODB and Jazz, who is now bald. And I like ODB and I like Jazz. I'm not sure why she's bald. Kong throws the one. They did a great spot where there was one girl, I don't know what her name was, but she went to shoot Kong off or whatever. Kong reversed it and shot her off, and the girl flew headfirst through the ropes and wiped out a bunch of the other girls on the floor. So it looked like Kong was superhumanly just launched this girl like a spear. You know what the announcer said? Wow, so-and-so converted that into a dive. They didn't give Kong the credit for it. They said, oh, she turned that into a dive. Even though when she hit those other girls, she bounced up and then bounced away selling too. Like, oh my God. They didn't even get Excalibur. I'll say it again. I got to say it every time. What the fuck, dude? Nobody knows who the fuck you are. Take the fucking mask off if you want to be an announcer. But also, he was exceptionally bad here. I praised Golden Boy before, and Golden Boy has never done wrestling before, and he still was better here. But they have not had any experience at this. When you had either Excalibur or Golden Boy trying to sell how to order the pay-per-view or watch the show, they sounded like 2 marks talking to each other in their basement, because that's their frame of reference. It's 2 wrestling fans talking to each other outside the business. They've never done television before where you have to sell pay-per-view. And when Jim Ross got in there, then at least he had the experience. He knew what, but it's not that fucking hard. Instead of reading cold copy off a piece of paper, say, boy, we really want to thank our friends and our affiliates over at Fuck You TV in the United Kingdom that's bringing this program tonight exclusively to our folks across the pond. And also, if you're in Brazil, Blow Me Satellite, bringing the action exclusively to you. Hello, everybody in Sao Paulo. It's not that fucking hard. Doesn't need to sound like a hostage statement. But it's experience, and it just not, they sound like fans talking to each other, which if you go to the doctor and the doctor is conferring with his nurse, do you want them using the same terms that you talk to your wife about when you're, well, it hurts when I do this? No, you want them to sound like they know what they're fucking talking about at a high level. Anyway.
The other thing, too, is, I mean, tell me what you think. They have Jim Ross for a reason. And obviously you don't want to overwork him, but if the whole idea of the buy-in is to entice people to buy the event, you would think Jim Ross would be a major selling point, having him out there. And people hear his voice and they see him and they relate to it, even if they've never heard of any of these wrestlers or AEW. Why don't they have him out there for the pre-show?
Well, you would think that, but then again, if he did one of these pre-shows between the Battle Royal they had last time and this thing, he would lose all his credibility having to call some of this shit. So maybe better you don't, because then you'll just do more damage to the program. But anyway, here was the worst part about it to me. Finally, after this big mess, they got a spot where they eliminated or sidelined the underneath girls. And they had a 4-way face-off with Awesome Kong, Jazz, ODB, and Nyla Rose. They all squared off. And the people were starting to come. And they were fucking rumbling. And truthfully, if they had all gone to Fist City right there and then had the other girls come in and try to fucking break it up and they chucked all of them out and went back to it, that would have fucking blown the roof off. But instead, these 4 individual women that you can tell apart even in a big building because they have their own fucking look and gimmick and everybody knows who they all are. They square off and get the people behind it, and a bunch of the other girls ran in and interrupted it and just got into a big... And then they were counting down because the final member or the final entrant was to come in and had picked the Joker. Somehow, somebody always draws a Joker. How hard is that to always do? I don't know how these things are done. But anyway, she drew the Joker, so she was going to come in last and have the advantage. Unbelievably enough, they're counting this down on the screen. 10, 9, 8. The fans are counting it out loud. 7, 6. Guess when Awesome Kong gets eliminated? The elimination in this match that will probably get one of the biggest pops, if not the biggest pop. Guess when Awesome Kong got eliminated?
What number?
As soon as they got to 1, Kong over in the corner gets dumped and nobody even fucking sees it or reacts to it. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, I'm just like, there goes Kong. And then there's 0. And then here comes, Jazz after 0 before the people even saw who was coming, which was Mercedes Martinez. Then Jazz gets dumped. They would have got another big fucking pop or some type of reaction. But so they did all that stuff till then, but then somehow, even though they were playing with these times, they couldn't wait to do this countdown and bring Mercedes Martinez out until Kong and Jazz got dumped, and Kong and Jazz somehow were getting dumped while this was obviously going on in the arena. So there's because of the people counting it, etc. So it was fucking rotten. Then here comes Mercedes Martinez, and she gets them back somewhat. Because she comes in, and I've heard of her name because she's been around for a while, and I've probably seen some video or two, but I'm not familiar. But she came in and made an impact. She beat everybody up. She hit something different on everybody, and the people were getting into her. And guess who the one to finally stop her was? Allie stopped this fucking unbeatable female fighting machine that had just come in and was kicking ass. So anyway, a lot of this was sloppy and it went way too long then. And then I got pissed when Mercedes Martinez got dumped because I thought she was going to win it because now I'm interested in her and she would have blown the roof off had they not conflicted people on her entrance. But then Nyla Rose got over. She's on the apron of the ring and she does kind of like a cartwheel. And at the top, she does a double kick to the 2 girls that are running at her. But the one girl took a bump about 5 feet too soon. She was shy of the foot. I don't know. And then Nyla Rose dumps Britt Baker and Bea Priestley and wins the thing. So now they've set up at least something because Britt Baker and Nyla Rose, which I believe is what I indicated from the first show we watched, I'd probably like to see. But it was awkward and it went too long. And this is going to be a pattern. Things go too long. Part of it, I think, is because the inmates are running the asylum. They're giving everyone time to perform their art. When in some cases, some people on the card need to be told, give me 8 minutes and get the fucking other guy over. Anyway, then on the buy-in, they went to a Chris Jericho and Adam Page package, and they had great fire on the promos, especially Page pulling the stitches out of his fucking head, where he got hard-weighed by Jericho's gimmick. Their packages are great. The production looks great from a quality standpoint. I was surprised that there was a number of missed shots on this live broadcast because they have experience, but at the same time, I'm an experienced match producer, and if I didn't know what was coming up in a lot of these cases, because so much of this stuff, it doesn't really make any sense visually. It's worked out on the fucking, the matches are gone over ahead of time, but where they actually go to is worked out on the fly based on where they end up. That's what we notice with a lot of the modern guys. They will work their match out 1 foot in front of another. But when you'll say, okay, when you do that big dive, what side are you going to dive on? I don't, just whatever side he's on. Well, guess what, dumb shit? Besides the fact there might not be room on that side because of people or seats. Also, if you're diving away from the cameras, nobody's going to fucking catch it. They don't know how to position themselves. That's what the agents and producers are for, to explain to them how to end up in the right place. But anyway.
Plus, whoever's in the truck is doing a bad job. They're switching cameras in the middle of the high spot. Like, they were just doing a bad job all night.
I noticed that too, and I don't know whether they got somebody new. There was a fill-in. There was confusion. I don't know what was going on, but the production looks great from a quality standpoint, and there was a lot of missed shots on this particular piece of business. And I think they rely too much on crowd shots to show the big building they're in when the crowd is sitting there on their fucking hands. Now, it's great when they're all up, and there was a few instances of that. But anyway,
they were searching for girls in those crowd shots, and they finally found a few at one point. But they were searching. At one point, you could tell they're trying to find some girls, and they finally
there are none. There's no old people, there's no children, and there's no women. It's men from, 18 to fucking 40? Anyway, it looks nothing like previous generation wrestling crowds. But the Jericho and Page package and everything, I'm always a fan of the production normally. Private Party against Jack Evans and Angelico, who neither one of these guys have any bones. They actually wrestled. Angelico and the one kid in Isaiah, not Mark Quinn in Private Party, but the other one, Cassidy. Anyway, they wrestled a little bit to start out. Of course, Mark Quinn and Jack Evans are too fast to follow. But here's the thing. I'm not going to shit on this match. There was a lot of flips and dives, and then Private Party won with a big double team move. It was an okay, happy puppy, preliminary match. Everybody was happy with it. They didn't do anything insulting to the business. Sure, they do a lot, but you know what the fuck everybody else does. I can't knock this match. However, the announcing was at cable access level here, to the point where, did you hear when Justin Roberts said 5 minutes elapsed, 10 minutes remaining? Excalibur jumped in and said, that's right, this is a 20-minute time limit. I swear to God.
I didn't even pick up on that, no.
5 minutes elapsed, 10 minutes remaining, and Excalibur says a 20-minute time limit match we got going here. But then here's what pissed me off. I've said I like Mark Quinn beforehand. They shook and hugged at the end of the match. They shake hands and they hug each other, and then Evans and Angelico back jump them and kick the shit out of them and get their heat back because they lost, which there's nothing the matter with that. But having them all shake hands and hug and then turn their backs, it made the baby faces look like idiots. There was no need. They could have, as the baby faces got their hands up in the air and won the match, the heels could have fucking jumped them. They didn't have to fucking sucker them and make them look like idiots. So I don't know what.
I'd like to see a Private Party against a Revival. I know so many people talk about Young Bucks Revival, but when I was watching them, I was thinking, man, with the way the Revival put matches together, they'd have an excellent match.
Yeah, and guys like Private Party would benefit, and that's the way it used to happen, would benefit from working with the Revival, because they would be able to slow them down and teach them timing and explain how to get the most out of their stuff and feature their big moves and big dives and big things that they do well. Which is the same thing the Midnight always used to do with the younger babyface teams. If you have a veteran heel team that knows what they're doing, or premier performers, they can take baby faces and make them better by working with them on the job training. But anyway, there was a video stuck in this for Wardlow. Did you see this video?
Yeah, Waldorf. Yeah.
Waldorf. It said Wardlow.
I call him Waldorf.
Who is Waldorf?
I have no idea, but he obviously is friends with whoever filmed the John Moxley promos, and they filmed this. I thought it was so ridiculous. I guess him and his girlfriend are getting harassed by, even, as we said this on 605, even the thugs. It's all inclusive. I think it was one white guy and one Latino guy, and he just beats up everybody, and he's coming. And next time it won't be a glossy produced thing. He'll be in the ring. Waldorf.
Well, but it was cool video. I mean, it was very well shot and well done and well produced, but it obviously also was a movie scene. Rather, he wasn't really choke slamming those guys on concrete and shit. So is Wardlow a wrestler, or is Wardlow some kind of fucking video game character? What is Wardlow? I don't think you should start off trying to get it was cool video. But should you start off a wrestler trying to get him over by having him do obviously fake shit that was gimmicked photography? Or should you have the same video treatment and shot the same way of him doing something in a match where you could plausibly say that this was really happening? It didn't make sense. Anyway, and the MJF did a promo and it was great. Imagine that. And we'll talk about that in a minute when the match comes up. And then Jim Ross does an entrance to save our ears from the announcing. However, then they had them do what seemed like, a 5-minute fill, where they were so early that they had nothing else to play, they had nothing else to do, and they just had the announcers fill for 5 minutes. Yep. So then the pay-per-view comes on the air. Who sang the national anthem? They introduced them like they would be names that I should recognize as an American citizen.
I don't know who they were, but I thought they did a great job.
Well, yes, that's the thing is they said who it was, but I didn't recognize the name and didn't even really hear the announcement clear. And then it was a bunch of people that did a good job and they had pyro and everything. So this was one of the highlights.
Everyone had pyro.
Well, I've come to find out. But the anthem had pyro first. Anyway, they did a great cold open for the show. Editing and video work is great. JR knows how to do a live VO open. But at least they had the people up a little bit on this one, because this was the real show, as opposed to the show that came on the air an hour ago that I'm watching. But as soon as you hear that voice and you hear, from a sold out, wherever the fuck, in Chicago, Illinois, it just sounds more major league and sounds more professional. But then they go to the fucking on camera and there's some clown standing there in a mask. And for no reason, because nobody knows who the fuck he is or that he's been a wrestler. And they never say that. And I guess because if they said this guy used to be a wrestler, people say, well, he must not have been very good because I've never fucking heard of him. So I don't know why they can't understand this. It's more important the look of your fucking company and your television broadcasts going around the world than to placate to feelings of one fucking outlaw wrestler. If you don't want to take the mask off and be a real person, and get another announcer. What the fuck? If nobody's asking him to take it off, then they're fucking being irresponsible with their jobs in production. Anyway, SCU, who I love as people and as wrestlers, against Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Marco Stunt. And let me say, I don't like the SCU promos, because when they get in, I don't mean the promos, I mean the same promo. They get in and they do all the same catchphrases. Yeah. I hate this fucking town or whatever. And Chris Daniels being forcedly happy. They can all talk and they're all great athletes and they all look professional and look like stars. They don't need to be out there doing the organ grinder monkey catchphrase bullshit, I don't think. I want to see him wrestle anyway. Oh, but here's the thing. After I professed my admiration for and fandom of Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy as a tag team, they put the fucking kid in the ring and just kill it. Just kill it. They're wrestling with a small child as their partner, and not only does that make Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy look like idiots if they're in any kind of athletic competition situation that they would take this fucking guy as a partner? It doesn't make sense. It's also, you're going to get this fucking kid hurt. He already has been seriously injured doing this fucking goofy flipping shit. He's not built for it. It's an insult to wrestling. It's dangerous to him. It's damaging the talent not only that he teams with, but also Daniels and Sky and Kazarian were taking bumps for him. When he'd fly, they'd be misdirected or whatever, and he'd fly at them with the Hurricane Rana, and they would take the bumps. They've got money in Jungle Boy. He can sell his ass off. He looks good, even though he's painfully small, but what a sympathetic character, and he's a movie star's fucking son. And Luchasaurus, the more I see him, the better I like him. He can do all kinds of shit athletically. It's a good gimmick when he's not in there with 18 other fucking gimmicks where it all just looks silly. But, and if the kid was a mascot that wasn't claiming to be or being presented as a professional wrestler, but you could still fucking throw him around, that might even be fine. But you've shit the fucking bed when you put this 100-pound fucking, he's not even a midget, because midget's way more, when you put this 100-pound small child in the fucking ring and people are flying around for him, it was an insult. SCU are all clearly polished professionals. Everything they did looked good. As I said, Jungle Boy sold great. Luchasaurus made a great comeback. And once again, they hit a false finish, and that should have been it. And Luchasaurus should have got the win, but they put Stunt back in and hoked it up some more. And then they all did a bunch more stuff. And then imagine this, SCU beat Marco Stunt, beat the smallest guy. That was unexpected. And then they all shook and hugged. There's no heels and baby faces in most of these matches, which is another thing that makes them go on so fucking long. But anyway, 5/6 of this was wonderful. And they've got something with Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. And they're going to gimmick it up for the clown show fans with the kid and kill it. What did you think?
I agree with you. I hated the SCU opening thing. I didn't like that when Conan used to do it. I didn't really like it when the Road Dogg used to do it. It's just my taste. I thought it was a good match. I'm not a fan of the Marco Stunt thing like you, but I'm a real big fan of Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy together. And it's funny, someone on Twitter after it said, I can't wait until Luchasaurus turns on him. And I said, I can wait.
What?
I
Yes.
said, they should give this a lot of time. This could be something. But now it's, a boy and his dinosaur and whatever, another boy.
And a smaller boy.
And a smaller boy.
Yeah, they're hoking it up. Somebody needs to be professional enough to make the hard decisions that, yes, this is a guy we like, but no, it don't fit. This is business. Anyway, here comes, is it Pac or Pac?
I thought it was one way, and then they started saying it another way.
Yes,
Yeah.
I heard both.
Yeah.
But Pac versus Kenny Olivier. Let me get this out of the way first. I like Pac or Pac. He looks great. He can work. He can move. He's got good basics and timing. He's got explosive power. He has good facials. I like him. I want to see more. I'm a fan. I just don't want to see more of him against this fucking Harpo Marx wannabe. Because now I can't stop. After I've envisioned Kenny Olivier as Harpo Marx with that fucking unruly blonde hair and the fucking goofy facials, now I'm seeing it everywhere. I mean, early in the match, Omega was working like Adrian Street doing the prissy prance strut thing. And I don't know what the fuck. And then all through the match, he prances and he poses and he points up, or he points at where he's going to run and hit the ropes, or he points at something, and he does jazz hands, and he runs with an exaggerated movement like he's a high diver fixing to dive off the fucking high diving board, or a gymnast about to take off for his floor exercise. And he's got goofy facials and goofy body language. And he's just, all of it is just exaggerated, over goofiness. And where are people seeing this great professional wrestler? Nothing he does convinces me he's in a fight. There's a difference between taking big bumps, and boy, that must have hurt, and convincing me you're in a fucking fight, or that you're mad, or that you're really trying to do something instead of those goofy faces and the pointing and the jazz hands and the prissy prance and whatever the fuck else he does. What am I missing here?
I'm not a big Omega fan. I think he's good in the ring, but I must admit, I don't know if it's because of AEW or what it is, but I have found him kind of boring. And I know people are going to jump on me like, oh, he's amazing. It's the greatest match. When he's not wrestling Okada, I'm kind of not the biggest Omega fan, and I kind of find him boring now. There's nothing that makes me care, and I wasn't the biggest fan of this match, although I thought the finish was great. But the match itself, I didn't like, and then I go and read online people saying what a great match it is, and I said, well, like I said on 605, maybe I'm just not a wrestling fan.
Yeah. Well, no, you're just not a fan of jazz hands. But I double dog dare anybody to go back and watch that match and look at Kenny Omega and count the instances that he prances, poses, does jazz hands, does exaggerated movements, goofy facials, strange body language. He just comes off speaking and working to me like an insufferable twat that's full of himself, and he thinks he's a fucking artist. I don't hear him talking where I sense that he's really mad at his opponent. I sure don't see him pulling stitches out of his fucking head like Adam Page did. I don't see him delivering the emotion that Chris Jericho did. I don't see it. So anyway, they did a bunch of shit to each other over and over. I wrote down how fucking long must they go. It got sloppy toward the finish. And then Pac put a standing stretch on him and fucking won it. And I love that. I'm like you. I love that finish. Because maybe for the people who have drunk Kenny Olivier's Kool-Aid, it will get Pac over stronger and we'll see more of him. But holy fuck.
Plus, it got a good reaction. No one expected that finish. So the fans legitimately were stunned when it happened. I thought it was good.
Yes, but just, fuck. Anyway, Jazz Hands. Kenny Jazz Hands Olivier. Now he'll be selling that shirt. See, I can get anybody over. Then they had the Cracker Barrel Clash. Darby Allin versus Jelly Janela versus Jimmy Havoc in a battle of the skateboard fuck versus the Pillsbury Doughboy versus the fucking junkie from England. I don't have proof he's doing drugs. I just hate to think that any human being looks like that and doesn't have the fun of doing the drugs first. It looked like three guys off the fucking street dressed up as wrestlers. And they didn't even touch each other before Havoc jumped out of the ring and pulled out chairs and tables and got his stupid staple gun. I felt sorry for Jim Ross. He had to halfway wink at people while he was talking about this instead of taking it seriously, or it would have killed him. You can go back and hear all of his, subtly disguised code words for I can't fucking actually take this seriously or it will destroy my reputation. Then they put thumbtacks in Havoc's mouth and duct taped it shut, but Jelly Janela couldn't work the duct tape. Go back and watch that. Then there was a spot where Jelly Boy is trying to find shit to play with from under the ring and pulls out a tennis racket. Because that's going to obviously, that way all of his insignificant fans will laugh because he's somehow making me mad. Actually, as I said before, I encourage every single person on the All Elite Wrestler to talk about and refer to me and show my trademarks as much as possible on the globally telecast programs that this billionaire is paying for. I encourage that. I'd like to see more of that. Thank you. However, it was a comically it wasn't a real tennis racket. It was a comically large tennis racket like you would find at a Goonie golf place or something. It looked like it was half as big as Janela was, so people didn't even really get to fucking joke, I don't think. And Jared said, what's that, Paul Bunyan's tennis racket?
Well, it seemed like Excalibur was ready to jump on you.
Well, yeah.
Get a receipt.
I'm sure he was, Mr. fucking Sockface. I'm sure, oh, yeah, who would want to use one of those? Well, people who make money in wrestling. You ought to try it sometime, fucking pea-brain. But anyway, so then Jelly couldn't set up a table. He was struggling with the table. They've all got to build this shit so they can do their pre-planned stunts. Then Jimmy Havoc is in there giving Jelly Janela paper cuts in between his fingers with a fucking 8x10 promo picture. And everybody did a bunch of silly shit to each other. Then Jelly moonsaulted off the top rope at one point and just crash landed on the floor nowhere around.
That was amazing.
Jimmy Havoc or anybody else that I could see. And they said, Havoc moved out of the way. When? Wednesday?
Yeah, there was no one in sight. It looked like he just did a moonsault to nowhere, to nothing, to no one. If he moved out of the way, it was a good while before Janela went for the move. It was ridiculous. I popped.
And boy, he didn't land well either.
He's not, I mean, with all due respect, he's not very good. If you actually just watch, beyond the, dislike for him, if you actually watch what he does.
Well, no, that's part of my dislike for him is because he's on it. I've had people tell me that he brags to them that he never went to wrestling school, was never trained. And it shows. in both the things he does and the way he does them and his mindset. So he splat. Then they used the actual Cracker Barrel, sponsoring the program. They have a Cracker Barrel, and oh, wait a minute, Darby Allin gets a skateboard with thumbtacks on the bottom of it that nobody in the building could see. The announcers had to say, well, there's thumbtacks on the bottom of that. So he's hitting guys with real thumbtacks, and the people in the building can't even fucking tell because he's in a 10,000 seat arena for the first time in his life instead of a goddamn, VFW hall. So he doesn't know everybody can't see everything. So then Allen gets on the top rope, has the barrel on his back, and jumps backwards without looking to do something to somebody, and lands with the barrel first and back first on the steel ring steps, and should have been paralyzed there. And I wrote down, this never ends. And then finally, Havoc, the worst looking physically out of the bunch, and that's saying something, beat Jelly. And just fucking rotten. Just what you would expect. Just fucking rotten.
Like you said, it wouldn't end. It kept going and going and going. It was just insufferable. And unfortunately, it set a tone for the rest of the night. Every match just seemed like it kept going well beyond when it should have ended.
Well, we're gonna get to a comment on that. Next up, Tag Team Extravaganza, Dark Order versus the Best Friends.
This was my bathroom break. I came back for the finish, but I was gone for most of this match. So I don't know anything.
Boy. Well, you didn't miss a lot. Dark Order came out with the Creepers. Now the Creepers are not wearing shirts, and apparently they're just getting anybody, the ring crew or whatever, because all these people just look just rotten. But they all have the masks on, and they come out and they creep. And the fat member of the Dark Order kind of does a strut now, creeping with them, while the athletic-looking member of the Dark Order, who, as we've mentioned, can do some shit and, has pretty cool offense and etc. It doesn't make any of them over. He comes out of, I don't know what the fuck. And best friends, of course, are Chuck Taylor, the invisible hand grenade guy, and Trent Beretta, who, unfortunately, if he didn't have a partner that looked like a fucking hatchet, could be a star. I officially claim the Dark Order is the worst tag team gimmick ever, and I'm getting support from the All Elite Wrestling fans, because I heard crickets at a lot of places in this fucking match. The best friends have a fucking hand-holding, hugging, fucking stupid entrance video. And every time I see Chuck Taylor, he looks like a bigger fucking idiot. That haircut, his fucking rotten body. This was rotten and sloppy, and the fans didn't give a fuck, and it was the amateur hour. And Beretta, as I said, if he was in another place with completely different people, there's nothing wrong with him. But he's stuck in this fucking hell. And he's going to have to he made the bed, he's going to have to sleep in it. I don't know if the fat Dark Order guy has a thyroid issue, but he looks even bigger and sloppier fat now. He looks like a skinny, not large enough Abdullah the Butcher. This went forever. It looked like such indie talent with no stars, going back and forth, doing moves to each other for no reason. Please end this, I wrote. Please end this. During the whole match, both teams did the tags where they slap each other on the back, on the shoulder. That was a tag, both of them. Just drives me insane, because obviously it's not and shouldn't be allowed. Finally, Dark Order won, and guess the only one of the four that looks like anything physically or marketably, and they beat Beretta. And nobody gave a shit. And then the lights go out, and then the lights come on, and guess who's in the ring? My little dog Pockets, standing there in the ring with his hands in his pockets. And the Dark Order is standing out on the floor, or the arena floor outside the ring. So he runs and dives with his hands in his pockets through the ropes and knocks them all down. And this then gets up and rolls back in the ring with his hands in his pockets. And people are like, ah. he wasn't saving the baby faces. They'd already been defeated. They weren't being abused. I don't know what the fuck happened. But anyway, this entire match and segment sucked the worst kind of shitty pond water that you can suck on a wrestling program. There was no reason for this shit to happen.
And by the way, the match was, I believe, to be the winner would get a bye in the first round of the tag team title tournament. Isn't that, in fact, a first round match? If that's the way you're doing it?
Yes. That would another name for that would if you're having a tag team match where the winner gets a bye into the second round of the tag team tournament, it's called a first round fucking match. Anyway, here came the Japanese girls. What are their names, Brian?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, well, good, because this is where I say, okay, this has been going on long enough, because with the pre-show, as they say, I think I was 3 hours in this thing at this point or close to. I've skipped ahead. I need to make up some time.
Hey, Jim, whether it was the Cracker Barrel match or the appearance of Orange Cassidy, did you notice Jim Ross changing on commentary where even though he's an AEW commentator, you can clearly hear that he's not going to put over Orange Cassidy?
Well, no, yeah, well, that's obviously because he doesn't want to bury himself. He knows that if he's going to do the company any good, he can't verbally praise shit that's going on in front of his face that would make him look like an idiot. So he laid out. As I said, I skipped the Japanese girls. It's not a which phobia is that or misogynistic thing. It is simply, I'm not going to watch, if the men are having matches of this standard and quality on the show, I'm not going to watch two Japanese schoolgirls have a professional wrestling match when it's getting this late at night. Because I started this show last night at the approximate same time as the pregame show came on when I was taping it live. So I'm in the same time of night that I would be if I was watching this live, right? And I'm getting tired because I've had a long day. So I skipped the Japanese girls and got to Shawn Spears and Cody. Shawn Spears had Tully in his corner. Cody came out with Brandy, DDP, MJF, and their dog who does not like pyro. And I don't blame him because I don't like it either. That's why I've got tinnitus. And
what did you think of those entrances, the two theatrical entrances for these guys in the grudge match?
Shawn Spears, I liked Shawn Spears. He looked like a badass. He looked like somebody they went to some time for, and he carried it off with the way he did it. I don't know why they're dressed up in Star Trek outfits. For a grudge match. Now, Shawn Spears has looked more like I'm a badass and I'm coming to get you, rather than Cody's was like we're all going to go to the fucking LexCon or whatever.
I don't know. He was in a chair with a spotlight. It looked like cabaret.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, they're trying. I wasn't offended by it. I don't know that everybody was serious enough in Cody's thing for the guy just caved his head in with a chair and fucking busted open, whatever. But then also, here's what I don't understand. MJF is a heel. There's no doubt about that. That's why he's my favorite wrestler, because he's the only one that you can actually tell instantly whether he's a babyface or a heel. Because most of the guys, they can't figure it out. They can't tell you how. They don't know how to project it, either the way they walk to the ring or the way that they work their matches. You can't tell which one's the heel and which one's the babyface. And if you can't do that, then your match is the shits automatically. Unless you're both supposed to be heels or baby faces. And then we would know that too. So MJF is a heel, but he's claiming to be Cody's friend. And he's the one picked to be in Cody's corner. But Cody in this instance was the baby face because he's the one. Shawn Spears is his former friend. Shawn Spears caved his head in with a chair. Shawn Spears got Tully Blanchard, Cody's father's mortal enemy, to be in his corner. So obviously Cody's the baby face. Does it not hurt when MJF is the one leading the cheers for him? People don't want to cheer MJF because he's a heel. I don't understand. If they're going to where MJF is going to be proven to be a prick and turn on Cody, then that's fucking rotten because we know that's going to happen because we know MJF is a prick because he's a heel. I don't understand this. Where can you go with this? The only way that you can have somebody turn on a baby face and not kill the baby face is if the baby face had no reason to believe it was coming. If the fans saw it before the baby face did, it makes the baby face stupider than the fans and it kills the baby face. Anyway, having said that, this obviously was the best thing so far. They jump-started it right away into action, hooked the people, had a good brawl all around. Great fight, great match. It made sense, kept the people's interest, even when they slowed it down purposely so that they could pick it back up. They did great stuff with Tully and MJF. They brought Arn down for the spine buster, which was, I'm sure, was tremendous live for those folks, and it was even for me watching on tape. I don't know why Tully left after Arn interfered and left himself. Could you figure that out?
No, that made no sense.
Because it was like, well, now that Arn's gone to the back, geez, my job is done. I don't know what's going to happen from here. I don't know why Tully left also. But anyway, then it ended up Cody hit his finish, 1, 2, 3, and got even for fucking Spears caving his fucking head in. I thought it was a great deal all the way around, a great main event match. Had the people, checked all, nothing embarrassing. That was one thing about the Best Friends. They didn't use invisible hand grenades. There was nothing on this show. There were stupid things on this show, but not just overly phony and silly. So they've progressed to where some of their bad matches are just bad instead of offensive. But once again, Cody Rhodes is on the best thing, at least so far in this point in time on the show.
I thought it was the worst Cody thing he's done in AEW so far. I didn't like it at all.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was nothing.
How come? What happened?
There was nothing. And they killed off Shawn Spears right away. I mean, we didn't even talk about that. I mean, they killed him. He lost the match. It's over. But I just didn't think there was anything there. I thought the entrances were so stupid. I thought once you got to the match, it was kind of just Cody by numbers. I didn't think it was anything special. I don't know why Tully left. I know the Arn thing was cool for everyone, but I'm not as big a fan as the fucking cheap pop as everyone else is in wrestling, seemingly, because it's a industry-wide epidemic at this point, the cheap pop. But the match didn't do anything for me. It just...
Well, I can say this. If I had Arn Anderson in the building willing to do a spine buster in a Rhodes match with Tully Blanchard, I would have had that done also.
Would you have done it that way? Would you have had it where he ran out for no reason, does it, and then leaves?
No, I would have done it a different way.
Right,
it would
exactly.
Have been building toward the finish, but I would have had him do a spine buster. And I know they were building toward, but I mean actually in the finishing sequence. And I'd have had Tully get out of there for a better reason or kept him to do whatever. But maybe it's just because there's a heel and a baby face and all their shit looks good and none of it looks phony or outlaw. And they had a fight and the fans liked it rather than the direct that I'd been watching all night. Could that be it?
That could be it. Like I said,
okay. Well, now let me say this. Up to this point in time, what was better on the show than Shawn Spears against Cody?
Again, it's obviously a little different. I like even though I didn't like the pre-match stuff on the mic, I liked the SCU match. I thought that match was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not that it was a bad match. It's just, I don't know. It was just kind of, it was just kind of there. Honestly, I didn't really think much of it.
Well, now it wasn't Cody and Dustin. But anyway.
It wasn't Cody and anyone he's been working with. I'm not trying to place the blame on Shawn Spears. I just think I don't know. It seemed dry to me.
Next was the ladder match with the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. And I mentioned it was getting late. And I started watching, and I said, fuck it. I want to see Jericho and Paige, and I'm getting tired, and I know what's going to happen here. And so I started zipping through, and the prophecy came true. I constantly, over and over, I would stop every 2 or 3 minutes, and here's everybody, once again, no babyface and no heel and no sense, no rhyme or reason, just ladders and stunts and bumps and tables, and everybody's falling off of shit and defying death. It's obviously staged and choreographed, and everybody's helping each other out. Here, these two kids that look like they're in junior high are taking fucking bumps that would kill giant, superhero-looking men and right back up. And it's gone to the point. Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon was a ladder match that was a wrestling match. All these ladder matches now are just stunt show, let's take stuntman bumps through furniture matches. And so I just went ahead and zipped all the way through because I don't give a shit. I don't like the Young Bucks matches because it looks so stupid, all of them. And I wanted to see Jericho and Page, right? So I skipped this. What were your thoughts?
I'm not a big Young Bucks fan. I'm not a big fan of just the spot show ladder matches. I guess if you're into that, you like it. I didn't like the match just because I don't give a shit. I'm beyond the point as a wrestling fan to stand there and go ooh and ah for bumps because I've seen it. I've seen everything just about. So I didn't really like it from that end.
And well, you see everything in every one of their matches.
In every one of their matches. I think their facial expressions are so stupid. I'm not a Young Bucks fan. But then I read from people saying things like what a great match it was and how the crowd was so into it. You watched a match. I'm watching it. I have a fucking beautiful TV with great sound. The crowd was fucking silent. And then they would jump in and chant fight forever. And then they would go silent. And then they would jump in and chant this is awesome. And then go silent. And if we're now just a Japanese wrestling fan base where the fans sit there silently observing the wrestling and respectfully respond at various times, that's one thing. But don't tell me the crowd was super into it because I watched the thing. I watched the crowd. They're sitting there watching these guys set up the spots.
Besides that, unfortunately, people mistake when popping on the finish for popping on the bump. That's like you said, people chant and then sit there and watch them build their shit or, stage their next thing and then pop on the bump or go ooh on the bump. Wrestling is about people popping yay because the hero won or boo because the villain won. Wrestling is not about popping ooh on the finish because it was a big bump. People used to, whether the bump was big or small or whatever in the finish, people used to yay or boo based on who won, not the manner in which they won, the spectacular bump they took. And we've completely lost that. And now they just pop on the bump and then wait for the stunt performers to set up the next contraption to take a bump off of. And I can't watch it. It's just people going through fucking furniture for no reason. And especially, and here's what I was going to talk about. I've seen people saying, well, the match with Jericho and Page should have gone on before the ladder match because how could they follow that? Exactly. Which is a reason not to fucking do it. Which is a reason why nobody ever did it before. When people who knew what they were doing were in charge of this industry, nobody would have been allowed to go out and take all those bumps and destroy all that furniture and do all that shit and pop right back up, especially when the Young Bucks look like they're in fucking 7th grade. Before a world championship match with two main event talents and one major superstar that you're trying to hang your hat on to get you fucking publicity around the world and a young guy that you're trying to make by putting him in the title picture. And you have these 4 fucking trained chimpanzees fucking swinging off the trees for a half an hour endlessly. And then you send out the world championship match that's supposed to be the fucking be all end all. And of course, Meltzer was like, well, they should have put the title match on first. No, they should get a fucking tag team that can goddamn work so that then they could have fucking opponents that could work and they wouldn't have to fucking dive off high places through furniture to have a tear down the house match. And it would be completely different from the singles world title match that was to follow. It's not that hard. The Midnight Express and Ric Flair did it for fucking years.
Now, people are losing their mind hearing you say that the Young Bucks can't work. People are going crazy hearing you say that. What do you say? You really think that they don't know how to work a...
Well, working is not doing moves. Working has nothing to do with doing moves. They can perform a bunch of moves and take a bunch of bumps through fucking various furniture. That has nothing to do with working. And I don't care if they think that they should have been the main event or whatever. With Chris Jericho attempting to elevate Adam Page to his level in a competitive world title match, and they go out there and they just do a bunch of that hoo-ha and then expect Jericho and fucking Page to go out and have a serious match when people have seen every bump that they could possibly take and they've seen grade school children survive them. And anyway, here's the fucking thing. Here comes fucking Jericho and Page out, the match that I want to see to crown the first All Elite Wrestling Champion, even though Page got there in the screwiest of ways by being in that hokey fucking battle royal They could have built him up in a much different fashion where he'd be competitive with fucking Jericho, but I like him as a talent. I'm astonished by that fucking buckshot lariat thing. The spring he does in over the top, and he nails it every time. He's a good kid. Guess what happened as soon as they rang the bell?
The crowd died.
No, I went to fucking sleep. I went to fucking sleep because it's past 11 o'clock at night. I've been up since 7 o'clock that morning. And I've sat through all this other shit to get one good match that I liked, Shawn Spears and Cody Rhodes, and to get to the match that I wanted to see, and I went to fucking sleep. And I woke up, Jericho's bleeding. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I rewound it back to the last thing I believed I remembered shortly after they started and punched it again and woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning on the couch. So the moral to this story is I wanted to see their world championship match, their main event. And I bought the pay-per-view to see that. And because it was almost 4 hours from the time this fucking show started until the time that match went in the fucking ring, I went to sleep on probably what I would have liked best of the entire night. And I did not have time today because of going to the post office to go back and fucking try to rewatch it. So that's where we're at right now. I haven't seen that fucking match. Is there a moral to that story somewhere?
Don't do long shows, and if you're going to do long shows, don't have every match go long.
Well, it's just over and over.
Like WrestleMania 3, when you look back, they jammed a bunch of matches in there. You didn't even realize a lot of them were 6 minutes. And I'm not trying to say like you should have 6-minute matches, but when every match feels like it goes at least 20 minutes. Yes, you should
have a 6-minute match. If you got somebody that needs to be on the big show, give them an opponent that they can beat in a nice showing in 6 minutes, and you've done your job. Everything doesn't have to be the main event at Starrcade 86.
Every match doesn't have to have everyone kicking out of everything. Not every match.
That's what, and you know, I want to be more positive. And yeah, no, I'm not going to ever really like the Young Bucks because they're just preposterous, just visually, and just with the shit that they do. And no, Omega annoys me on a personal basis, not only because of his past with sex dolls and fucking grade school kids, but also because he's so annoying to watch because he looks like such a twat that's full of himself with all of his fucking mannerisms. And I don't get the feeling that he's in a real fight. I don't get Terry Funk out of Kenny Olivier. But these other guys, many of them I'm pulling for, want to see more of. And they're cluttering it up. Or they get a match that I actually want to fucking see, and the fucking underneath show is so long that by the time that it's there, I'm asleep.
Let me ask you this. I asked you this last time. Coming out of this event, who in AEW are you looking forward to see more of?
Well, you know, once again, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, but if I got to put up with the fucking little kid doing shit to the real pro wrestlers, then I don't want to see them. You know, so far, Cody, everything he does is, there's nothing silly or insulting, even if it's not scintillating.
No, you know what? Yeah, to that point, I put that down, but let me clarify, because maybe I was a little unfair there. Cody's stuff, by and large, or actually just universally, has been the best stuff on every single show. And maybe even the stuff that he's not in, but has some say in behind the scenes. But the other stuff I don't know about. But it's just that this Cody match, it just, I don't know, it felt like it was dry, considering the feud it was, Tully's at ringside. It just kind of ended flat to me. And it was flat.
Well, and that's the thing that, you know, obviously I could have had more Tully and Arn interaction. I'm not saying that Arn needed to spinebuster Tully. Tully may have put the kibosh on that. But they could have done a different finish. But at least, once again, they're pros. Their shit looks good. They know what they're doing. Cody's not doing anything stupid. All of his matches make sense, and they keep the people's interest, and they get over in the end. And, you know, SCU, as I said, I'm a fan of them as athletes, but, you know, the fucking kid in the ring. A Private Party, I didn't think Quinn did as much as he did before, but, you know, he was on the pre-show. They had a nice underneath preliminary match, and that's exactly what they should have had there. I would have been yelling at them if they stole the show on the pre-show. I could give a long time before I see any of these fucking girls again if it's always a mess, because it's always overdone. On this one, I'm going to watch Jericho and Paige because I want to see that match. I just hadn't had time yet because I had to fucking sleep through the middle of these goddamn marathons.
Well, let me ask you this then, because I don't know if you've seen it because you've been really busy, and I think a lot of listeners have noticed you've been on Twitter a little less lately than usual. But
somebody even tweeted me, less tweety, more maily. I'm like, I got you guys.
See, that's
what I've been doing from the time that I get up. I will get up and I'll basically check and see if everybody's still alive in the world that I care about, and that doesn't take long. And I'll fucking retweet a couple of things, and I'll go down in the book mines, and I'm there till late at night. That's why I've been off Twitter.
Well, the feedback I've seen on Twitter, an overwhelming amount actually has come in of people saying, not even that I want to hear Jim talk about this AEW show or here's what I think he'll say, but more, there was another show that weekend. I think Jim would really like NXT, or I think Jim would love the Walter match. I know it's not as easy as ordering it on pay-per-view and DVRing it and watching it, but if we could find a way to get you this NXT show, would you consider reviewing that? Because it would be different. We've done so much AEW.
It'll be a palate cleanser. If you can send me something I can click on, and is the show under 3 hours?
I would be willing to bet it's under 3 hours.
Okay, if you'll send me something I can click on, then I will find 3 hours, even if it's in increments, over the next week, and I will talk about NXT next week as a palate cleanser and see what they offered at the same base, because it's going to be the new Wednesday Night Wars. We need to see who's ahead, All Elite Wrestling or NXT. And I've not seen NXT television before because it's not been on television.
Well, you've seen some of the takeover events. I believe this is one of those bigger events. It's not just a television.
Yeah, well, no, I've just watched the individual revival matches. Did I ever watch a whole takeover?
You know what? You've watched a couple of other matches. I think you did a couple of the girls' matches before.
Yeah.
Maybe Charlotte and Sasha, something from way back. But now that I think about it, I don't know if you've made it through an entire show. You've definitely done at least 3 matches on a show, I think.
Well, bye, Cracky. Send me the link. And next week we'll do NXT and give them equal time, and they can take what comes of that.
You know what the problem is? To the average listener, they hear, send me a link. They're like, oh my God, it's so easy. WWE Network. You go there, you watch NXT. They don't realize how complicated a process this is about to become to get you to be able to watch NXT. Because you don't have the WWE Network, correct?
No. I've got all this shit on tape from when it first aired. If I had time to watch it, I could just put the fucking tape in and watch anything for free that I want. I don't have time to do that either.
Do they give free memberships to guys who are on the network?
I don't fucking know. I don't want to ask for any favors and be beholden to them anyway.
Paul, if you're listening, call me later and we'll talk.
Yeah. But anyway, no, also as maybe the newer listeners don't realize, I hate to be tied down to the internet anyway and sitting here in front of my computer screen watching some shit when I've got an 82-inch fucking flat screen television in the TV room.
Do you have a USB port on that TV?
I don't fucking know what port it was delivered through. It could have come from Florida. It could have come from California.
The USB port, similar to the one you have on your computer that this microphone would actually be plugged into.
Yeah, I think that when the fucking geek guy came over to put it together and then told me, well, you got to buy a new TV to go with it to speak to this new receiver. I said, the TV's only 6 years old. He said, oh, that's antiquated. I said, well, fuck you. The TV works fine, and I just had the fucking lamp replaced. My mother used to keep TVs 25 fucking years. What?
I don't understand what you're saying. Are you saying that it does have the USB or it doesn't?
No, I think it does, because I think it's got one of those USBs, but it won't speak to my brand new last year audio receiver because it's 6 years old or whatever.
Well, that's different. I've seen.
But anyway, I whatever, the USB, I might have one of those. Probably does.
We can get you something, maybe a Chromecast, where you plug it into your TV on the USB, and then you can broadcast your television stream right onto your TV, so you can watch NXT 80 inch.
Or the internet stream right onto the. Yeah, those never work.
You tried it.
Well, but no, I haven't tried it. Stacy's got some shit that's supposed to fucking have every goddamn channel and every movie that's ever been made, and comes right out, and it never works. It always just buffers.
None of that bullshit. It's Google Chromecast. You plug it into your TV. You're not looking for apps or channels or movies. It would let you take your computer screen and take that window and broadcast it right onto your television set.
It'll take my computer screen from up here in the office all the way downstairs in the TV room. I mean, it's not this far as the crow would fly if I had no floor and crows could fly through floors, but it's a good fucking 80, 90-foot walk because you got to go down 2 flights of stairs.
Is the downstairs and the office on the same Wi-Fi network?
Well, there is no Wi-Fi downstairs because it's my cable box with my cable remote hooked up to my TV.
But your house has Wi-Fi, doesn't it? Or is it, I mean, if Stacy's in the house and she's on her phone, she doesn't have to use her data.
Yes, there's Wi-Fi around here in the air, but I don't have anything to do with it. I don't know where it is. I can't see it.
I'm going to give up on talking to you about this, and maybe I'll talk to Stacy or someone else because I can't even get past Wi-Fi.
All I know is this stuff. Anytime I get involved with this stuff, it never works. If she says, "Hey, let's watch this movie," it doesn't work. If there's something about whatever the fuck, I can't. My emails don't even work right, as you know. I have to use my laptop sitting next to my computer to send emails because there's some virus in this thing, and I can't respond to emails, which I don't like to do anyway because it requires me to be on the internet.
Well, now you'd be able to broadcast those emails right onto your TV set.
Why would I want to see these emails 82 inches across?
I don't know what people are emailing you. It could be a number of things. 82.
Well, some of these aren't really very attractive, even in fucking 6 by 9 inch fucking. Anyway, nevertheless, just send me a link. I'm not going to learn to do any goddamn thing new just to watch wrestling, unless suddenly fucking Bill Watts starts up a company again, and everybody that fucking wrestled in the 80s suddenly finds the fountain of youth. Then I'll watch wrestling on TV on a regular basis, and I'll climb up on my roof and turn my antenna by hand if I have to.
To that point, you're committing to NXT if we can get you a link for next week. Are we still online with, we're going to be following AEW, their TV is going to be starting until they get it right, we're going to keep going?
I may back up on it. I may check in with them from time to time if they're going to keep doing this shit. And now that my little dog Pockets could be the last straw. That could be a bridge too far. Even for work, I may not be. Next week we'll do NXT, and then possibly we may have to alternate and give just a brief update on 1 week I'll watch NXT and the next week I'll watch AEW. We'll do something like that.
I want to see the week that it catches up, where both shows have something going on and you have to choose in real time which one you'll watch. That will be the big test.
I don't know if it'll come to that point. Because I might just record both of them and watch them when I can zip through the commercials.
Right, I got it.
Besides that, my DVR is almost full anyway. I got cool stuff on my DVR.
What do you got? What's filling it up?
Well, I do have my Dark Side of the Ring episodes on there because that was such a classy program. But, you know, I've various things that I've recorded, the Buster Keaton documentary.
Yeah, by the way, after you plugged it, it wasn't even on Turner Classic Movies again. I went looking for it. So thanks a lot for plugging something that was never going to be on ever again.
Well, there you go. It's my way of saying fuck you. And now MeTV is broadcasting The Invaders every Saturday night at midnight. So even though I've got the box set, it's easier if I just catch up on them in order by just recording it every week. But I'll make some space.
All right, NXT, sit tight. You're up next.
NXT is next, and I bet you they won't have any invisible hand grenades. We'll see. Anyway, I got to get off here and get back to the book mines. Brian, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the fans this week?
Good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Oh, for heaven's sake. I was going to at least hit you with say good night, Brian.
Good night, Brian.
Well, there you go. You know, there's probably a whole generation that doesn't even know what we're doing there.
Well, you know, but
that's a shame.
Well, even more of a shame is there's probably whatever little part of that generation that knows about it probably thinks that Gracie actually said that at the end of any episode, and she never did.
No, she never did.
Yeah. And now we're really confusing people if they don't.
Say goodnight, Gracie. All right. I'll tell you what, until next week when we talk about next, NXT, that is. Say goodnight, everybody. Thank you, fuck you, and bye.